Can you give some insight into the decision making behind the postponement?
Absolutely. We have been talking to our customers for months and listening to them, but more both exhibitors and attendees. And over the last, we had a meeting with a lot of the key managers, senior managers from the key exhibitors, and we promised them to keep them update. We did this in December, and you saw messages saying the show was still going ahead, and that was the view from those companies as well. We followed up with a promise meeting earlier this week, and result of that meeting and giving them an update of where we were in terms of both, or primarily with the registered attendees, and getting the feedback from them also about how the reaction is from their own customers about attending the show in February, brought the discussion to the point that we should reconsider the dates. And coming from these exhibitors, they said, look, we feel more confident that people will be more comfortable about traveling later in the year than now. And this was one of the key drivers to doing this.
So, as you said, you kind of had a group of primary exhibitors with whom you've been consulting and with whom you've been meeting regularly. Now that the cat is out of the bag, what kind of feedback have you gotten from the attendee community, the subject matter experts who attend, from the exhibitors? Have you had very many dissenting views or disappointment, or have most people said this was something that really had to be done?
I think the latter. We had many of our exhibitors said if we went ahead, we would get the support, but they would be more comfortable if we would postpone the show. You see this online. If you've been following social media, you'll see the comments there. And I would say the majority of comments welcomed the decision and also reinforced, particularly from the major exhibitors, that they are happy with this decision and they will be at the show in May. We've seen a lot of comment from attendees as well, and again, pretty much the same. Yes, we have had some dissenting, some people who were really, I think everyone was looking forward to February. And there have been one or two who have made comments, and this is something, you can't please all the people all of the time. We think we please most of the people with this decision. What was really surprising was the amount of support we got from the local community and authorities in Barcelona. I've spoken with the deputy mayor, I've spoken with the deputy president, and they're all fully behind our decision. There was a huge article in the national newspaper this morning, La Vanguardia, where they saw this as a sensible decision and fully support it and think it's the right thing to do at this time. And more interesting is the local hotels. So the chairman of the Hotel Owners Association welcomes the decision and has said that he will be supporting ISE. And we would have thought the hotels are the ones who would suffer the most. But they're happier to see us being in May when they feel they might get more people coming to the event.
So one thing that I saw a little bit of on LinkedIn, and a lot of this is probably out of your control, but people saying, I wonder what's going to happen to me with respect to things for which I prepaid, whether it's prepaid hotel reservations or prepaid travel or prepaid freight. Do you have any insight into that, or have you heard anything about that?
Obviously, a lot of things we're still working on. It's been 2 days since we made this, and we're discussing with all of our partners. Our hotel agency. So if anyone's booked a hotel through the official channels with us, they are working with the hotels right now to try and recover payments where possible and to move those payments to May. And they will be contacting the exhibitors and any individual customers who have made bookings to try and find a compromise for those customers with their interest at hand. And they're currently working on that. As you can imagine, we did include them very, very early once that decision was reached. But obviously, they've only had about 24 hours to start really doing things about this. So they're in the middle of the process. In terms of freight, again, we're working on solutions for our exhibitors. And anyone who's got freight in Barcelona, we're already talking with them and finding compromises and solutions to actually help them with that in terms of storage, etc. So we're dealing with everything we can. I mean, I'll be in a better position next week to give you results and say this is where we are. But everything's very new. We're talking to our exhibitors. My team is not huge. We have 30 people in various things. So, with the operations department and the sales department trying to, reach 700 people across the world, it's not the easiest process, but they're doing it, and we're getting through that.
Right. So Dave, we had a conversation that will be, somewhat similar to this back in 2020 when we were talking about at that time ISE and Infocom being scheduled for very close to each other. And now we're looking again at ISE and Infocom being scheduled very close to each other within about a month, actually a little bit less than a month from each other. Is that a concern of yours? Is there a possibility of changing Infocom?
No and no. There's your quote. No and no.
No and no. That's the headline.
There is more space in between the two events than what the initial planning had reflected for 2021. This is an issue that comes up and people talk about it, and for the most part, the people that are talking about it are not trade show experts. Our major brands that overlap across these two events and frankly Beijing in July, they do 2, 3, 4 trade shows a week sometimes. I mean, they know how to do this. They have the resources for this. The percentage of attendees that go to more than one AVIXA event a year is minuscule. It's single digits of the number of attendees that go to more than 2 shows a year, and very small percentage that actually even go to 2 shows. And those that do are going to those shows not to see new product at both shows. They're going to meet with different colleagues. They're going to meet with different aspects and supporting parts of their channel. And those events happening in May and June are not going to disrupt any of those purposes or needs. I know it's an immediate issue that people sort of jump on, but the challenge last year was some logistics with regards to physically getting stands from point A to point B in the time frame that was there. That challenge is less of an issue this year. The challenge becomes, are both events going to provide an opportunity to reconnect, to reignite, to restart the industry, to reaffirm and reinforce relationships? And the answer to that question is obviously yes. So I would it, I mean, and this is similar to the let's always have ISE in May and let's have Infocom in January. And again, those are discussions that are from one segment of the trade show community, which is the attendees. When you move to the exhibitor segment and or the organizer segment, where they are and when they are as a role makes perfect sense from an economic perspective, from a cost perspective, from a travel perspective. It just doesn't make perfect sense from an attendee that is there to both enjoy the city as well as do some business.
So you had made the point that a lot of people are not going to like just event after event after event throughout the year, that 2 is, kind of the cap for most, and even that is not necessarily the most common. I remember when we were having this conversation in 2021, there was basically a discussion that ISE typically has much more of a European flavor, Infocom has much more of a North American flavor. Is that what you're expecting this year, that Infocom will be where most of the North American audience goes and where ISE is where most of the EU audience goes? Are you expecting maybe less international crossover this year because of the proximity of one to the other?
Well, so that's absolutely will agree that geography impacts attendance, right? that's why we do this show in North America, in Orlando one year, in Vegas another, because we have more people attend from the West Coast in Vegas and more people attend from the East Coast in Orlando. There's a big percentage of people that only go to one or the other show, but go every other year without fail. When we moved ISE from Amsterdam to Barcelona, I mean, we knew we would have less people attend from the Netherlands and more people attend from Spain. Yes, you can expand that circle and not just talk about Netherlands or Spain. You could talk about Europe or Asia or EMEA or North America. We had a surprisingly high percentage of international attendees at InfoComm 3 months ago. So I don't know that any of us have the algebra to be able to fully predict this. I think people will come to Barcelona for the reasons that they were going to come to Barcelona in February. They'll come in May. And I think more will potentially come in May because they're looking forward to May weather in Barcelona. If that was a tipping factor. I think the exhibitors are most focused on those that are going to an event like that for compelling commercial reasons. And I think we are stacking the deck in favor of having more people attend the event in May than we're going to attend the event in 2 or 3 weeks. And that provides better opportunities for return on investment. I will, and I know I'm talking a long time here, but I will use this also as an opportunity to re-emphasize that the quality of exhibitor and attendee interactions is absolutely more important than the quantity. If you can enhance the experience and enhance the attendee profile for the exhibitor, the number of people that walk by becomes far less important. Because ultimately, trade show is a part of a marketing strategy and part of a marketing platform that is meant to either reinforce a brand, generate leads, or reinforce sales opportunities. And all of those are dependent on quality interactions with the right people.
Right. So I think I probably know the answer to this, but I do have to ask it just because if we talk about proximity of one show to the other, NAM obviously is much, much closer to InfoComm. I believe NAM is the 3rd to the 5th, and InfoComm is the 8th to the 10th. So for some companies who might want to be at both, like Shure, like Sennheiser, like Audix, companies like that, Tascam, that could be a really hard lift. That is not factoring into your decision making, I assume.
Are you referring to the Infocom show or ISE here?
To InfoComm, because that is, I think NAM ends 3 days before InfoComm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, NAM obviously chose to move their dates. The Infocom show is where it has traditionally been. I think this is similar to the challenge that Mike and his team just faced with regards to the FIRA. It's not, these events are not a hey, let's see whether or not we can get, let's look at moving this thing to May, give them a call and tell them we want May 10th through 13th, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the calendars for these trade convention centers are years out and have a very limited flexibility. So the fact that Mike actually and his team had reserved dates as a potential option is actually a huge reflection on their behalf with regards to planning and positioning ISE to be able to respond with agility to changes in the context. I don't think NAM chose those dates out of a broad portfolio of dates. and was looking to position their event to deliver success for their community. Again, sort of what I said at the beginning, our exhibitors know how to do this. They have resources for this. They're certainly challenged when these things happen, but count on them. I mean, our industry is an industry of innovation and response and making it work. They'll make it work.
I mean, Dan, what I can add to that is that in the traditional years when everything's normal, NAM has always been about a week before ISE, and those companies managed to come across the pond to doing NAM and then coming to ISE in Europe. So I think when the inclination is there, those companies will also be able to make the Infocom show in the same continent. So I personally don't see it as much of a big challenge, and as Dave said, it's more a case of what's available. We don't see the other shows that are taking place there. Some people have mentioned that we're sandwiched by NAM and NAB. Well, we've always been sandwiched by NAM and NAB for the last 20 years. And ISE still exists and still grows and has a lot of those same customers. Comment was also online about shows in Europe as well. And I can say one of them that was of concern, which was the Midwich TechX, which is one of our major exhibitors. And they have talked with us, and they've said that they will move their dates because ISE is important for them. So we're working with them, and they will be part of ISE. Couple of other dates on that calendar. One of them, I think the London Digital Signage Week is actually, we checked their website, they're actually a week later. And the broadcast show that's taking place in London, we only have an overlap of 10 exhibitors, and we'll have to work out how, talk with them and see, how we help them to do both shows if they think that's necessary.
Okay. So let me ask you one other thing about NAM, not to do with the show dates, but I don't know if you saw the letter that Joe released about a week ago, kind of a very thoughtful letter talking about kind of we're at a crossroads and we're not quite sure if we're going to be seeing these 80, 90, 100,000 attendee trade shows anymore, and it may end up being like a largely virtual or hybrid kind of affair. I just got the sense that he was kind of thinking about where are we going to go and we're at a crossroads right now. Do you concur with that? Are big, major 80, 90, 100,000 person trade events at a crossroads? And what do you think the future is?
You want to start on that, Dave, or shall I?
Well, I didn't see the letter, so I can't really reflect on that directly, Dan. But I mean, the easy answer is the entire world is at crossroads, right? And I think anybody that doesn't have their eyes open and looking beyond the horizon and attempting to experiment and take advantage of these new opportunities is I don't know anybody that is in a senior position within the event industry that isn't looking at that. When you're dealing with uncertainty and unknowns, you start to try to focus in on what do you know, what do you not know, right? And the biggest mistake I think we can make is presuming that what was will be. But I do have a confidence in the certainty that people value face to face. I do have a confidence in people enjoying the economies of scale of having lots of people being face to face. So I think it's probably an either. I don't think it's either or. I think it's probably and, right? We've watched some of our industry manufacturers are doing standalone localized events, and they're having various levels of success. There's no constant in marketing, and there's less constant in marketing today than there was 2 years ago. I didn't mean to not answer your question, but I think it's a given that we're all going to be looking at different options, different platforms, and working really hard to not use old assumptions to make new plans.
Okay.
I mean, I can echo a lot of what Dave says, but I mean, also, I think we are also in the fortunate. Well, we had the experience last year of trying to do digital, putting our interactions online, and our industry struggles with that. What a lot of manufacturers come back to me and said, look, we can reach the people we know, but we miss the face-to-face interaction. We want to let people touch and feel and see and hear firsthand what our products and solutions can do, and that they can't achieve online. But despite that, when it comes to numbers, I think the Infocom showed it very clearly that it's about quality and actually having good, valuable conversations and getting results from there. It's quite clear that the casual visitor, and I'm not saying that the casual visitor doesn't have value. There are people in we look at our attendees and we qualify them as those people who make decisions, those people who are involved in decision making, and those people who are users as well. And sometimes, it may turn out that many companies say, because of our restrictions, because of our policies, now we're only going to send those people who actually make the decisions rather than the users as well. There may be a lot of travel restrictions that come. I hope that's not the case, but we have to take that into mind. But going back to my first point is we're in an industry where people want to have face-to-face interaction. People want to have first-hand experience of what this industry creates and produces.
So obviously with Omicron, all of a sudden it materializes and within a matter of weeks, it's pandemic and we have 800,000 US cases a day. Delta rose up very quickly as well. So between now and May, between now and June, very unpredictable. Who knows what the next wave could be? Hopefully there's not one. For companies that are investing now and reserving booth space and things like that, is there a way that AVIXA or ISE is going to be working with them if they say, well, you know what, come May, I don't feel safe. My associates aren't going to be safe. Is there going to be a way for them to recover funds or anything like that?
At the end of the day, we all do business in whichever way we need to. And I think every company, when they start to produce products or solutions or create installations for their customers, they go into the point of actually creating costs for themselves. And it gets to a point where they can't stop that train running. And nobody can actually have a sustainable business if they always refund money. Obviously, we try to be as helpful as possible. We're in this industry and we want to work with our customers. We don't want them to get into difficulties, but we also have a business to run. And I believe that that most of our customers are appreciative of that we go into investment, substantial investment, to make these events happen. Last year we were very, very generous in actually giving complete refunds to the industry, and that's something. I'm sure Dave will be look at me very seriously if I start saying I'm going to give money back. And we've got to a point where we will be going ahead. We have our customers' support. They understand the risk as we do within that. We cannot guarantee anything. 2 years ago, I said this is all going to be over in 3 months. Dave's laughing because he was listening to me.
I was saying it. We were all saying it, right? I'm going to interrupt you. I'll use that as my segue. Dan, and part of why I was smiling as Mike was answering wasn't because he was making me laugh inside. It was actually a memory of the very first time I met George Feldstein, founder of Crestron. And it was at an Infocom probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago at this point. And it was in Vegas that year. And he and Randy Klein and I were chatting, and George was like, it makes me laugh that all these people here in Vegas think they're gambling when they sit down at $100 blackjack table. He's like, if they knew what I was gambling in moving Crestron to digital switches, they wouldn't get as much of an adrenaline rush from sitting at the blackjack table in Vegas. Now, I don't know how well you know George or Randy, but you know that I just edited that statement very carefully to make it family appealing. But the sentiment is that all successful business organizers evaluate risk and make decision and make investment accordingly. And the investment that our exhibitors make in an event like Infocom or ISE or Infocom Asia, that those investments are well thought out, and they know the risks and they know the rewards.
Is there anything that I have neglected to ask that you would like to share, either about ISE in Barcelona or about Infocom in Las Vegas?
I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone at both events.
And you, Dave, anything to add?
No, I think you've covered it. I think we're all anxious to get back together again. It was good seeing you in Orlando. It was good seeing you in Orlando, Mike. I think we're moving forward, and we're going to weigh the realities that we face when we face them. And if there's ever been a doubt about the capabilities of our industry to innovate and respond, that doubt should be well gone and well past at this stage.
Okay, well, I really appreciate both of your time this morning.